Hi Soujanya, how are you?
I'm very good, Amit. How are you?
Thank you, thank you.
Please have
Let
a
me formally introduce myself. I'm Amit Bhargava. I've been a mentor associated with Pune International Centre's Social Innovation Lab, and really glad to come to the Cummins premise and meet with you.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So why don't you tell me something about yourself and what your journey has been like in Cummins?
I'd be very happy to.
Yeah.
So Amit, I'm Soujanya. I've been with Cummins for almost 17 years now, and I started my career. So I've done my mechanical engineering. So I started my career in a small facility in Daman, in fact, and with production, operations, supply chain. So that phase of my career lasted for almost 8 years, and then I pivoted to CSR in 2015. Where I felt this was my calling at that point in time, and decided to work in this sector. Had the good fortune that the company thought I could do something in this space, and got the opportunity to do so. And since then been working in the space of energy, environment, gender, and about 7 months back have received the privilege to now lead the function for this company.
So thanks so much for that, and
thank you.
I'd really be excited to get to know more about what Cummins has been doing. But first, I'd like a little tour of this office. So
yeah,
if you would not mind.
Yeah, we're so proud of this place. I'd be happy to show you around.
All right.
So Amit, here's a collaborative workspace and a sort of interactive space where people can gather, and I'm very happy to show you this wall which talks about our values.
Wow.
So
thank you.
What better place than this?
Yes, and thank you for that tour of the Cummins premises.
My pleasure.
Really a nice thing. So now we'll just move on to the main reason why we're here together.
Yes.
So we have started a series called Beyond Profit Perspective, where we talk to people from the industry who have who are engaged in various CSR work, and we just wanted to pick your brains on this topic. I have been through the website of Cummins, and I've seen that you are into a variety of areas, but I would like to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah.
So what are the areas which main focus areas of Cummins, and what is broadly the CSR approach?
Great. I'd be happy to share that with you, Amit. And so before I do that, let me take you through our company's journey to begin with. So Cummins is a US headquartered organization. We are a global organization with operations in more than 190 countries and territories. And we are a global technology leader with a broad portfolio of power solutions. We were founded in 1919, so more than a century old now.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah, in India, Cummins began its operations in 1962. But wherever we have been, I think participating in the community and engaging with different groups in the community and our stakeholders are critical. So right from the beginning in India, Cummins has been working in the neighborhoods and working for the development of the communities. So with that, I just wanted to kind of set the context.
Perfect.
And when the law came into being in 2014, we were already doing a lot of initiatives with the community, so only we needed to do a little bit of restructuring and a reorientation and bring in a lot of frameworks and models in place. But then that helped us in the next phase of our community engagement. Our areas of focus are education, so where we primarily focus on aligning, quality inputs towards education, so that workforce of tomorrow are prepared by students of today. They could be entrepreneurs or they could be employees, but we focus on that. We also have a huge focus on environment and environmental initiatives. And our third focus area is equity or increasing opportunity or access to opportunity for those most in need. So these are our focus areas.
That's good. So my attention went on to the wall, and what are the values which you follow as an organization.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that all the CSR initiatives also tie in or are in synchronization with the core set of values, right?
Oh yeah.
So how did you go about aligning to the values, and what have you done in this space?
Sure. So like you can see, caring is a core value for us, and which means that demonstrating awareness and consideration of well-being for others.
Okay.
So and that includes, this others includes a whole wide of stakeholder groups, including communities, which is a key component of how we view that relationship. And so you could see that there is a huge value alignment when we work in CSR, that it's a part of the company's ethos itself. Okay. Where I want to kind of focus on also, in addition to the values, and of course diversity and inclusion is also completely embedded in some of our very core work that we do in Cummins CSR projects. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about how even business strategy kind of extends to the community work. Okay. So a little bit about Planet 2050. Okay. So this is a long-term business strategy where we are, looking to advocate for, build partnerships, drive actions for creating a healthier planet for the future generations. So a key component of that is how do we translate it into our work in our communities. And as an example, I'd like to talk about our major watershed program. It's called Monsoon Resilient Maharashtra. And this started close to 6 years back in the Man Taluka in the Satara district, which is one of the most drought-prone regions in that district. So that district is very full of conundrums. In the state of Maharashtra, Mahabaleshwar, which is in Satara, receives the maximum rainfall, and Man also resides, which receives the lowest amount of rainfall. Okay. And so you would find that that many households, people from them would migrate to bigger towns and cities and then send money back to the villages. Sometimes they don't end up sending money back. So mainly you will find women-led families out there. The land holdings are very, very small in these places. So what we have done is, intermingle science into, how we can effectively improve the water availability in those regions. Okay. So that the dependency on monsoon is somewhat mitigated. But at the same time, we also work on cases where if there is extreme drought-like condition, then what all can you fall back on? So we look at it from a holistic angle, so both supply and demand side. And we use hydrogeology to inform us exactly what kind of interventions will work best in a watershed, and then go about doing that. We also mobilize the community so that they contribute to the progress and development of all the works that we do. Okay. And we also focus on the demand side, which is exactly what we said, what are the alternative livelihoods which people can fall back on in case of a bad monsoon year. And so far we've covered about 75 odd villages in that taluka. In the next 2 years, we plan to, complete the whole, block. And we've replicated this at Osmanabad, which is also another completely drought-prone region. And we've taken learnings from here, wherein here we looked at 1 hydrogeological cycles. We may look at 3 here because the disparity is quite acute out in Osmanabad. So happy to share this example of how business strategy lends itself to work out our CSR strategy, and then really follow it up with science-based approach and actions. Interesting. And then the other thing that I also wanted to talk to you about, another value, which is diversity and inclusion. And how it extends to the communities. And this is really all about our vertical equality of opportunity or equity. So, for example, gender is a huge subject, and this is something that we've consciously and in some cases organically found our ways into imparting better outcomes on gender. But I would like to talk about Cummins Powers Women. This is a flagship program where we are identifying grassroots leaders who are already working on the space of gender, but want to now increase the scale of their impact. So, with another non-profit organization, we impart training and tools for them to advocate, for policy and law changes. So what that means is a cohort of 20 odd grassroots leaders who have already track records of working in the space of gender now understand how to work with the government and help with changes or shifts in policies and laws, so that in one stroke you're able to really impact the lives of millions of girls and women. So far with this project, we've already covered, we've been able to impact 3.3 million girls and women. And so as an example, as a small example, we have, in Latur, in one district, an organization who's been working to with the transport division to make sure that the buses are available for girls to go to school, because the timings were not matching and all that. And with this just shift in law, in one district, I think more than 15,000 girls could now go to school.
Wow. Thanks for sharing these examples, and really brilliant work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
So I guess you've shared the broad areas where you you work in, and there must be a lot of organizations who you support in the same in these areas, looking at various initiatives which they undertake. So I'm just curious to know that how does an organization get to partner with Cummins, and what is it that you look for in a prospective organization to partner with?
Absolutely, and that's such a key deliverable for all of us in our team as well, to make sure that we partner with strong organizations who are passionate about delivering community outcomes like we think. So some of the basic stuff is, I think, well understood, right? In terms of due diligence, of making sure you have the certificates, registrations, licenses, all that you need to do. I think I'm going to consider them as a hygiene factor or a prerequisite. But then they are critical ones. And many organizations sometimes need help with that and navigating that space as well. So one of the things that I'd like to bring in at that point in time, and I know the question is about how do we, evaluate, but while we evaluate, we also help organizations in that sphere sometimes. So, for example, our legal team conducts a day-long event once in a year where they give knowledge-based kind of sessions to all our non-profit partners, so that they understand what is the latest in the amendments, what are the compliance requirements that are coming up. If there is any sticky problem that they are not able to come out of, then we sometimes even provide one-to-one pro bono help. Some of our partner organizations also do come in at certain times in supporting them. So I would say, while these are basic requirements that one would imagine, I know that these are sometimes sticky problems for up and coming, partners for us.
So interesting, you were to bring up this topic of legal help. So one of the initiatives which we at Pune International Centre, the Social Innovation Lab, have started off is this concept of a shared services center. So what we do associate with various social startups, and what we realize that they probably do not have the resources at hand to have dedicated teams for marketing management, legal compliance. So if they're launching a product, they don't have dedicated teams available for marketing that and all that.
Sometimes they are just a 2 or 3 member teams.
It's like wearing multiple hats, and all of them are on one head. Right? So what we started, we analyzed that this was a problem which most of these startups were facing. So what we have done is we've engaged with about 10 to 15 service providers, and here I'd really like to call them out and appreciate the help they are providing, because they also understand that organization of this type struggle to get some of the services availed and benefited from. So the mentors who are in touch with these partner organizations, they are the ones who recommend that the organization should partner with the mentor, with the mentee for a particular service, to avail a particular service, and the engagement lasts typically anywhere between 2 and 3 months.
Oh, nice.
PIC also goes a step further and picks up like the first rupees 40,000 worth of cost for that. So it kind of provides an impetus to these organizations. so that they can avail these services and benefit from them.
What a crucial support, and something that is very timely and needed.
So that is one thing. But so you mentioned about how you evaluate a partner and how you decide on who to partner with. But beyond that also, there is regular tracking which is required, right? Or how do you track and monitor, or what are the deliverables which are expected from these organizations? So what is your approach on the tracking perspective and ongoing support?
So I'll touch base a little bit on evaluation also when as we onboard organizations, because beyond the bare minimum requirements of the legal, financial, taxation, all of that, there are other things where we need to find alignments on. So first and foremost is about vision and goal. This is an absolute requirement so that we have a shared vision on that. So that is something that we make sure that not only through the word and the letter, but we also see on the ground whether they are following through on those goals and are demonstrating that they have the same mission in that sense. So mission and a value alignment is something that is core to how we evaluate organizations. But apart from that, we also look at, let's say, capability, strengths. Not that it is a complete no-go. I know there will be some organizations who are just coming up. But do they have at least the basic building blocks in place? So for instance, if an organization wants to work in the waste sector, do they have the right team members in place who've got the wherewithal to at least get started? And let's say, for example, if we are working in a slum, do they have the inroads to get into that? Are they able to mobilize the community, etc.? So that is something that we really want to look at. They sometimes may have proven track records, sometimes they may not have because they're just coming, but that's something that we would like to look at, whether they have the capability and the core strengths to deliver on the mission that we both have kind of agreed on. So these are some of the things that we see for alignments before we kind of onboard an organization. Of course, I mean, from a due diligence aspect, while we cover the financials, we cover the legal aspects, we also see, how they're communicating about their mission. And that is also a crucial element in when we actually onboard partners. So that is something that we do. And you also spoke a little bit about, how do we track on an ongoing basis. So I appreciate that we are working in communities. They are very dynamic environments. And as much as we would like to have, let's say, rigid quantitative systems, we really know that there will be a lot of intangibles that also need to be recognized when we are looking for the change or the progress or, how do we monitor. So for those which we are able to and have quantitative outcomes, we do have, let's say, in the beginning of the project, we talk about how is this project going to pan out, what are our key KRIs in that sense, what will be the measurements around it, and then have systems and processes in place to kind of track those. All of our project team members, will kind of co-create along with the partner a system which is both useful for them and us to be able to track on a regular basis. So for instance, if it's a water program and let's say you're doing a desilting, then you're basically wanting to measure the progress. Let's say if you're doing it in several villages, after a certain mark in time, you want to do how much have you desilted, how many farmers have benefited from that silt, etc. What is the volumetric gain that you have created? So that those are very objective-based outcomes that we can really track on a regular basis, which we do. But then, of course, there are stories of change which we need to capture, which are intangibles. So, for instance, in a program where we are working with, let's say, on livelihoods, of course, there is a very objective parameter that says, income has grown from X to Y, whatever. But then how do you capture the confidence that a woman now has to go out and, kind of be out there and advocate for herself? Or now suddenly, how does she deal with being part of decision making in the families, etc.? So these are stories of change that we capture through narratives, and give equal importance to in that sense when we talk about tracking and monitoring. So
what you're telling me is that there is a bit of tangible output which you can easily measure, and there is a intangible component to it which you also measure and monitor.
So we either capture as a story of change or we capture through case studies, but we make sure that we do that as well, because there is a huge amount of these intangibles that can go unnoticed if we don't really pay attention to those.
Okay, so I'm going to role play a little. I'm going to come as a prospective organization looking to partner with Cummins. So I'll come with my standard pitch deck and everything. But what are some of the things which you as an organization, when evaluating me, will look for? That I have completed those prerequisites, and what more importantly is the negative aspect, like what are things which if you find about my organization will kind of dissuade you from partnering with us. So it's important to know both sides of the coin, because that for prospective organization looking to partner with Cummins, that kind of input is really crucial.
So I think the fundamental thing about organizations approaching us, we would like for them to be completely authentic. I think that's one of the first things, and of course we've covered the hygiene factors. So I'm going to talk about now from a more approach standpoint, approach for partnership. So while we've cleared the mission alignment part of it, but I'll touch base on one single instance where we find that this is something that that many organizations overlook in the let's say the excitement or the enthusiasm of partnering with an organization. So for instance, if I'm looking for an organization who wants to work in the space of nutrition in villages, and the organization who is approaching me has got phenomenal expertise in livelihoods, but they want to partner with us. They'll say, "Hum nutrition bhi kar lenge." So I think that's a big watch out for organizations in the anticipation of getting work or getting partnerships to stretch themselves in the areas that they're not really having core expertise in. And so one of the most important things is for you to be authentic and look at the alignment, whether it is geographically or whether it is on a thematic or whether it is on a focus area. Let that alignment, and you grow organically with that. So that's one thing. So I mean, what I would like organizations to do is just do that homework. Now, all of the organizations who are into CSR, big, small, medium, everyone put their work out there. So not only from a statutory compliance standpoint in terms of annual reports, your annual operating plans, your annual action plans and your policies, there's a world of information that every organization really puts out. And it's curated very thoughtfully, in terms of where you're headed, what your vision is, etc. So it is imperative that prospective organizations actually come understanding this already and be authentic in terms of what they can offer. So one is that in terms of being prepared and having done your homework and making sure that alignments exist and you're offering something that is addressing a crucial gap in in the programs that we're doing. So you would have read about our let's say impact assessment reports, and you will know exactly what kind of projects we do, what kind of approaches we see. So if you are looking at a system as a whole and you say that your program is fantastic in this portion, but I'm addressing a gap which will help you amplify your impact, so could you consider working with us? So that makes perfect sense for us. Let's say somebody in the agri-tech space comes and says you're doing a huge amount of work in your monsoon project, Monsoon Resilient Maharashtra project, but here's a key thing that will add to it. Then I'm very happy to look at small, big, whatever medium organization and see if they can add value to us. So that's one of the first things. The second thing is be specific.
Okay.
So sometimes it may so happen that organizations, based on their own priorities, will have certain budgets and they may run out of it. And you may say, you know what, this is an area where we have shared value and shared interest, shared goals. And if you have even, let's say, 5 lakh budget, it's going to help me take me from here to there. And that can, you know, bring my scale to this, that might take my impact to this. So be specific sometimes. So it may so happen that you will come up with a plan that say, you know, I'll work in 50 villages with you, but you may not have that bandwidth right now as an organization to support. So you may just say, but what can I do for you now? And take you to the next level. So be specific on that. And then finally, I think you know, all sorts of communication. I think there needs to be some fine-tuning that happens. I have seen so many organizations who send in mails or send in even physical communication to us, which are, let's say, 100 to 120 pages long. It becomes difficult for us to sift through exactly what you want to, you know, kind of do. Sometimes I've attended pitches where the presentation slides may be 40 or 50 pages long, and you are somewhere lost in the translation. But you may have a fantastic idea, but then that doesn't get communicated well. So I think, I know that, you know, of course, startup NGOs and all these you know, organizations may not have the wherewithal to begin that way, but your organization and what PIC is doing with them can help them get there, you know.
So I take it the underlying message is be kind of specific in the areas which you want to focus on, and be specific in terms of what your ask is, right? So that always helps to clarify situations, and I think as an organization it would give you more clarity on what is expected out of you and what you know, contribution you can make.
The underline is clarity, right? I mean, and I think the NGOs will do themselves a whole world of good to have a lot of introspection to get to that clarity. Whether my presentation is 1 hour long or a 1 minute presentation, I'm able to communicate my mission, vision, goals very, very articulately in that fashion.
All right. So you know, if organization were to want to reach out to you and on your organization, how can they go about it?
So there is an email ID which is available for everybody to reach out to us at. It's indiacr@cummins.com. And anyone can reach out to us, and that's typically how we receive proposals, etc., from folks. I think that's the easiest and the fastest way to reach out. But then all of us can find each other on LinkedIn these days. If you want to give a shout out, that would be great.
All right. So I think I've you know, spent a fascinating time here understanding from you what is the ethos of Cummins, what is the approach on CSR. Thank you so much for being a part of this discussion. And I'm sure this you know, the purpose behind this talk was to understand what it is that Cummins values and how you go about the whole CSR program. And you've been most articulate about it, and you've managed to communicate that in a very, very eloquent manner. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Amit.
Looking forward to
my pleasure entirely. Thanks for you know, coming down and meeting with us. Thanks.
Thank you.